time to blow shit up.
What up, my peeps? I'm the Roleplay Gamer, and this is not a review of Hard Reset Redux. So this is a repackaging of the original Hard Reset, which was released in 2011, I believe. And this includes all the extra content that they made for that game. Now, I haven't played the original, so this is going to be a video for those who also haven't played the original or haven't even heard of it. I'm going to treat this like an entirely new game, you know, with a couple of exceptions. Like, I don't think they've updated the graphics, so any comments on whether or not the graphics look dated, you know, take that into consideration, that this is a repackaging of a game from 2011. Anywho, with that out of the way, on with the show! So it's one of those fast-paced arcade shooters, like Doom. Well, it's pretty much Doom. It's Doom. But with one or two twists that I personally find extremely refreshing. Firstly, the levels are bursting with environmental hazards that you're meant to use against the enemy, which is fantastic. You know, most games have explosive barrels to shoot, but they're usually an afterthought. Maybe once every hour or so, you'll be able to actually use one to do some proper damage. But here, they're just scattered everywhere, and you do need to utilize them. So we're talking like panels that you can shoot that will electrocute the enemy, or, you know, things that explode. There's a lot of exploding items here, including some of the enemies themselves. And I just love the refreshing shake-up of actually regularly using these to do damage instead of them just being there occasionally and, you know, once in a while, hey, isn't that cool? I actually managed to use that explosive barrel to good effect. And there's also a decent amount of secret areas that you can uncover by blowing up walls and such. The other twist to the formula that I really appreciate is the ability to dash and sprint. By tapping the shift key, you will dash in whichever direction you want, which is great for getting out of the way of enemies, because some of them will charge. And it adds just a little bit more of a tactical feel to combat. It's not a huge change, but it's just enough to shake things up. Arcade shooters are not typically my thing. I like the speed of them, but the fact that you can't change your speed, that you can't sprint or anything like that, does make it feel a little bit, I don't know, rudimentary or a little bit too simple for me. So just the fact that you can dodge out of the way, it gives you something else to worry about, some other tool in combat that I really like. And also, when you hold the shift key, you will sprint. I personally haven't found any combat usefulness for it, but it is good for getting around. So that's pretty much it. It seems like your fairly standard shooter. There is a story here, which is good. It's cheesy as all hell, but I like that it's there. And what's really fantastic is it actually plays the cutscenes during the loading screens. So there's no downtime here, which is great. Why don't more games do this? That's absolutely fantastic. So it's done with this sort of comic book style kind of thing, you know, still images and the cheesiest voice acting on the face of the planet. You know, the story's nothing to write home about. It's your standard humans versus machines sort of thing. But I like that concept. I like the cyberpunk setting, so I'm going to give that a thumbs up. And speaking of machines, the enemy variety is pretty good. You know, I've seen a lot worse. About 2 hours in, I think I've come across 5 or 6 different enemy types, which is, you know, I consider that pretty good, and they're all pretty unique. I will say, subjectively, I'm not necessarily a fan of their design. You know, I just think they look kind of ugly. But I do recognize that that's subjective, and functionally, they all seem to be great. They've all got their own different style of attacking, you know, some swarm, some charge, some explode in your face. But best of all, at least with the bigger enemies, as you shoot them, you can actually see the damage. So you'll shoot through their armor and then pieces will fall off, and then you'll shoot off an arm and they'll be crawling at you. It's good stuff. It adds flavor, and while the enemies do seem quite bullet spongy, which I'm personally not a fan of, at least there's something interesting to look at, and at least their behavior changes as you're shooting them. Onto the subject of shooting, you start off with 2 guns, and a little later on you get your hands on a sword, which is bad fucking ass. So you upgrade those starting 2 guns to do a whole bunch of things. And at first I thought, oh, do you just do you only ever have two guns and you upgrade them, and so you sort of switch them out like that? But no, once you upgrade a gun, it transforms, and that concept is fantastic. More so in the fact that it's actually animated. I love seeing my assault rifle transform into a shotgun, or then a grenade launcher and whatnot. That's just so good. The attention to detail, it just tickles my fancy. It gets me all giddy and whatnot. So yeah, on the whole, I was surprised by this game, and I think it's really solid, and it changes just enough of the formula to make it interesting. If we're talking about negatives, yeah, it does look dated, and I'll be honest, before I started playing, I didn't know that this was a repackage of a game that had already come out, and I thought, yeah, it actually looks really good, but there's just sort of a general lack of polish over it. Some parts look kind of blurry, so I think if we travel back in time to when it came out in 2011, I actually think it looks really good. Also, it's got this fisheye lens thing going on, which took me a minute or two to get used to. It actually kind of made me sick at first. So if you're sensitive to that sort of thing, just check out some gameplay footage beforehand, just to make sure that you're not going to throw up if you actually play it yourself. So, I like the game, but would I recommend it? For $17.99 US or $19.99 after the launch sale, I would absolutely recommend it. It's a decent arcade-style shooter with some interesting non-standard features, a survival mode thrown in as well, and a shitload of explosions. How can you go wrong? Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. If you're interested in purchasing Hard Reset Redux, you can check the description for links to the Steam and GOG pages. In the meantime, don't forget to gently caress that like button. It needs love like everything does. Taste the game, be excellent to each other, and I'll see you next time. Roleplay Gamer, out.